My next guest is a true champion in the world of boxing. She was the first woman to sit on the executive board of the North American Boxing Federation. And she's currently the USA vice president of that very same organization. She also co-chaired the WBC's Women's Championship Division. I mean, this is just awesome stuff. I cannot wait for this interview, and I know you're sitting on the edge of your seats too. She's extensively involved in boxing and has been for over 20 years. She's involved with community, the sports, all aspects of boxing, and we're going to learn all about it during this episode with Jill Diamond Chastain. Thank you so much.
It's my privilege to be here. It's just fun. Let's have fun.
We are going to have fun. Okay. Boxing.
Yes.
How'd you come to boxing, Jill? We got to start there.
Well, boxing is one of those enterprises that you start out as a hobby, and then it basically eats your life. It goes from being mistress to wife very quickly. I had just lost my husband. My father-in-law was a boxer, and I was producing music for the networks. So I went to the boxing gym to feel better, and I met tons of women. They had no representation. They were doing 3-4 jobs and making like $1,000 a fight. So I got very irate about it. So I went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, which is the biggest organization, found the World Boxing Council, and I sent them a very irate letter and thinking, okay, I vented, that's it, go away. And about 3 weeks later, I get a phone call. Hello, this is Mauricio Suleiman. I'm with the World Boxing Council. You want to bring in women's boxing? We've been thinking about this. Come to the convention. So, I mean, it was really, they have a practice at the Boxing Council. You have to read every single letter that comes in. I read every single letter now that comes in because you just never know. So I thought about it and I met a couple of people, and then I got myself on a plane and went to the first convention. And we started the women's divisions, the women's championship divisions. And when I looked around at the Boxing Council, it's like at that time there were about 130 nations, people from every different culture, color, economic group. I mean, multimillionaires, people who move furnitures, people who are destitute, all sitting together with their love of the sport. And I said, this would be a great networking group to do something for philanthropy. So I started WBC Cares at the same time with the permission of the Suleimans, who were very into it. And it started as a grassroots.
I have to go backwards a little. You said when your husband died, you started going to the boxing gyms. Were you boxing?
Yes, of course. I was boxing, but not to become a professional. It was the first time, it was my Prozac. My father-in-law had been a boxer. My husband loved boxing. I hated boxing. I'm a lifelong vegetarian, and I used to look at somebody getting hurt. I'd go like, how can they clap? Someone's getting hurt. When you start boxing, you realize they're not clapping for the guy going down. They're clapping for the guy going up. But doing something changed your perspective of that thing. So when he died, I was in a depression, and I went to the boxing gym. I saw the same people that were there when my husband used to go. Walked in, they remembered me, and I started working out there. First time I heard music, first time I felt like I was with community, first time I got physically, the endorphins started flying out. I'd have a couple of good hours a day. And that built and built and built. I mean, boxing, sports in general, but particularly boxing, is an actionable sport that deals with depression and other things.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting statement.
It's 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. It releases endorphins. And what we also have are groups which are called contactless boxing that we use with kids. So they go through everything with boxing, including mitts, but they don't hit each other. But the same thing of punching bags, doing the exercise also releases that endorphin feeling. So it's considered a actionable release for mental health.
I never thought of boxing that way, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
You know, when you think of people saying, before you do anything, punch your pillow if you have to.
Yeah, it's very Reichian. I was trained years ago as a Reichian therapist, and the main thing is to release anger by being very physical with the anger, even if it's someone pressing on your jaw or you punching a wall, and then deal with whatever the emotions come up. I mean, body-mind separation is ridiculous. We all know that at this point. So releasing emotions in a safe, healthy environment is very important because God knows we don't live in a natural world. So these are tools that we have, different tools for different people. We're snowflakes, but boxing is definitely a way to help anger management, depression, and things like that. Now, you separate that from professional boxing, which brings in a whole other different set of things that you have to deal with. But amateur boxing, in terms of contactless boxing, there's no downside to it.
I want to talk about both because clearly you're an expert on this topic. But let's start. What do you think the appeal is for someone to say, I want to be a boxer? I wonder about this a lot because our son does extreme skateboarding. And there are days I have looked at his body, or as he's limping away thinking, oh my gosh, thanks for showing me the move. I don't want to see all the clips that didn't make it, because he looks like we beat him. He's got, like the thought of somebody wanting to smash into cement all the time and boxing, you're going to get hurt. What do you think that is?
Well, firstly, I hope your son wears a helmet.
Of course he doesn't.
He has to.
Yeah.
People die that way. I'm not saying that to make you upset.
No, I know.
I have a friend who lost a child that way.
It's not going to happen at 22.
First of all, things like boxing are very primal to nature. If they didn't have boxing, they'd still have people turning the headlights on cars, beating each other in the road. Boxing is just sort of, what can I say? It's like the safety warning on the cigarettes. There's no way that you can box and not in some way have your life impeded by it if you're a serious boxer. Now, some don't, because of the fact that they have a thicker skull, a thicker neck. They don't, sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's genetic, but you are risking your life. There's no doubt about it. You're risking your life. So what makes them do it? Well, many of the people that get involved in boxing come from very disadvantaged backgrounds. Many people who get involved in boxing have families who come from cultures where that is the ultimate sport. Many people who get in boxing get involved in it for anger issues or weight issues. It gives them a positive outcome. It always gives a positive outcome. The negative outcome is going into a ring or a gym and not observing the best health and safety requirements. And even when you do that, you're still taking a risk. There were quite a few boxing deaths about 2 months ago in Japan. Amongst my women, very few bad results. I can think of one death in 20 years, and that was because a young girl was thrown into the ring by her father when she had gotten hurt in the gym, and nobody was told. But you are taking a risk. In order to take a risk, you have to really want, that swag that goes with winning that risk. And we don't have a lot of PhDs who are boxing, though we do have some, like the Klitschko brothers. But most of them come from very, very needy or deprived backgrounds or have emotional issues and have other issues that boxing help. There's another thing about it, too. Whether it's boxing or Muay Thai or a sport like that, a lot of people come from areas where they don't have family structure. You walk into a gym, your coach is your father, the people working with you are your family. It gives you structure, community, and activity. And that's very, very important to young people.
It's so interesting to me, the people who participate in extreme kind of sports we could take F1, totally different on the financial scale. You need massive amounts of money to do that. But you still have guys getting in a car going, ridiculous speeds with no little to no protection, yet they do it, and there's that thrill. So it's an interesting thrill, and that safety, the safety of getting out of where you were to find a new set of personal balance.
We're all wired differently. Now, sometimes with boxing, it has nothing to do as much with the wiring, though there are people who have more of the instinct. They can throw that switch than others. Sometimes boxing comes more from circumstances than wiring. Poor person who sees a way out of the ghetto and has that talent. But then in some of the more extreme sports, there are people who are juice addicts, and it's their wiring. It's not, more than it is anything else. It's their wiring. And we're all wired differently, so that's their drug of choice.
Now, you started this whole women's division of boxing. So I have a question there. What did you look for when you said you had the list of women you were watching at the gym, you were watching people? What were things what do you think characterizes a boxer?
Okay, first of all, I didn't start the whole women's division. What I did is I created it for the World Boxing Council, and we had the first real non-gender women's belt. Women have been boxing since the Olympics in 1904, even probably before then. It was never formalized into a big sport that was equivalent to the male. Okay, the rules weren't. The rules had to be made different. The equipment had to be made different, things like that. But I did not start women's boxing. I wasn't looking for anything. I was looking for a platform. They were doing the work, and they were fighting. They were fighting for women's belts or club fights or things like that. I wanted to raise it to where it was on the international level, respected and being taken seriously like men's boxing with the same prizes and standards. It's just now kind of happening all these years later. And we have some stars who do make a lot of money, but the general population still does not compare to the men. And strangely enough, if this Ali Act comes through, the revision, the men won't be making that much more than the women, except for the stars. The stars will always make a lot of money because they can say no.
It's interesting in the alignment of, with what's going on with men's and women's sports. And, women saying, well, we need to be paid as much as the men. That's an interesting issue because you need advertisers, you need people to watch it. If you don't have watching, then you really don't have the revenue. So where does that money come? So how do you address that when you hear it, which I'm sure you do?
I do, and they blame it on the fact that rules are different for women. And I'm going to say right now that's not the reason, because a lot of people prefer watching 10 2-minute rounds. It's action. It's pure action.
That's women's.
That's women's boxing. 2 10s as opposed to 3 12s in most cases. And it has nothing to do with pay scale. It's not sexism. It's science. Women do concuss easier, do heal longer. But more than that, the promoters and the networks really kind of like it. Anyway, the question was...
I forget the question sometimes when I'm asking it. No, the difference between the pay scales and, people saying, oh, well, women should be paid just as much. And I think that misses a big economic factor.
The truth is women should be paid just as much, but not just in sports. It's across the board, women, same job, same outcome, same risk, same pay scale. Will women be paid just as much? That's the question. Now, you hit on it when you said it's a business. We're the women audience. We need the audience. We need the marketing. We need the promotion. Now, the couple of fights like between Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor made a fortune, filled out the arenas. So it's doable, but they have to put that energy into it that they put into the men's fights. So right now there are some women who do make almost as much. And I think down the line there'll be more and more because there are more and more women coming up. Remember, at one time there wasn't a big talent pool. Now the talent pool has grown and grown and grown and grown. So I think the future looks promising. I don't know in this world of worlds, and that's not just sports, that women will ever make as much. Again, with the exception, there was always a Sidney Poitier, even though Black actors were not, there'll always be an Amanda Serrano, but that doesn't mean it trickles down. But they'll do better.
What do you think with the advent of, well, it's been around a little while now, UFC, Ultimate Fighting versus boxing? Or do you notice a pull or a draw, or do you think they're complementary?
Totally different sports. UFC now is a part of UFC. The promoters are taking over boxing. People think, oh, that's so great. Look what they can do. If they can do for UFC what they did for, if they can do for boxing what they did. But the truth is, UFC has always been a different business model. If boxing had that business model, they could have done it. They own their boxers, they own their time, they own everything. In boxing, it's a freelance profession. So it would not, that's why they're trying to bust the Ali Act, so that they can own them, put pay scales down and blah, 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 blah. But yes, UFC has gotten extremely popular, but it's apples and oranges, really. I mean, and then there's Muay Thai, and then there's Tai Chi, then there's Jiu-Jitsu. There are all these forms of combat sport. Boxing will always be around. And as shown by the fight on Saturday, it makes more money and brings in a bigger audience. But as far as individual events, the UFC, I would say, is pretty much just as popular, and in some areas more popular. So...
Over the years, what do you think the biggest shifts you've seen in the boxing world?
Right now, we're going through a very big shift. So I'm not going to get into it till it shakes itself out. But it is the people with the most money and connections are taking over the sport. It's like they did with golf. So I can't say that that's about boxing. That's about the world in general. You have a billionaire boys club. And when I'm seeing some of the things they're doing, it's incredibly distressing, like with the sparring clubs. And I'm not going to get into that. But
can you just tell me what a sparring club is?
It's a bunch of guys who are not really well matched, they're saying they're sparring. There's no real referee. They're getting in the ring. They're beating the crap out of each other. And it brings back health and safety many years. But people enjoy watching it for the same reason they watch enjoying a train wreck or early UFC. So I can only speak to what I know. Boxing has changed radically in terms of health and safety. 4 ropes instead of 3. 2 ambulances must be on site. Doctors, MRIs, health, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The organization I work for goes even farther. We have a fund that we've given out $2 million to needy boxers. They come to us. We have
This is your CARES organization?
And also the WBC itself.
Okay.
We have a medical task force. We've given $1 million to UCLA to look into trauma. We take in boxers. We try to assist them with their medications and this and that. The WBC has been a family. Now, can people find gray areas there? Probably. But they are not a sanctioning body. They are more a governing body. They are very, very oriented to the family of boxers, and any boxer will tell you that. The other organizations are basically belt sellers. It's like we had a case recently with Heather Hardy, who was the first woman I know diagnosed with CTE, which I don't understand how someone alive can be diagnosed with CTE, but she been diagnosed with many emotional issues. She's desperate for money, and we've given her money. And the last thing that she did, she needed money, and we sent her a huge check, and she put on her Instagram, I've only been an international WBC champion twice. I've gotten world champion belts from other organizations. Only the WBC comes to help me. So we pride ourselves
just
on
got me
that.
goosebumps.
But I hope that as things go forward, we don't lose the family aspect and the health aspect of what's going on now. That we may.
Why?
Because control is now had by Dana White and by Turkey and Saudi, and they, even though they say they have this workout center and whatever, the weight cutting that has gone on in UFC and the juicing has been unbelievable. We have random drug testing in our organization. You can't get away with juicing. I'm just saying it's going to be difficult, and I'm not going to say it's not going to work. I'm just going to say we have to see what's going to happen. And what I'm seeing right now is not making me happy yet. I'm about the athletes.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I stay with it. My organization, besides the World Boxing Council, World Boxing Cares is about empowering athletes and people. So if I see that the athletes are now not being treated the way they should be treated, I just step backwards because there's no reason for me to do it anymore. I can do things off the record, but right now we all keep our game face on and hope that things go well. Because I'm also a ring supervisor, which means I'm in there in the ring, and I'm on the board of governors. And
wait a second, whoa. Let's not go too fast. A ring supervisor, what is that?
That's the fun part. That's where you approve a fight, go to the fight, go through the rules, go through the gloves, get them on the scale, make sure everything's going right. And then the next day you add up the score, you go in the ring, you go like, here's your belt. That's the fun part.
When did you become a ring supervisor?
Pretty early on. I was probably the first ring supervisor. When it was interesting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I couldn't.
That sounds like a blast.
They didn't want to let me backstage because, and I would dress like in jeans and this and that like a guy. And a friend of mine who's a Russian trainer said, no, you do wrong. Just feminine. I said, but they're not letting me back because I'm a woman. Just feminine. I did, and they said, can we help you get backstage? Now, this is 20 years ago.
Got to use what you have.
Got to use what you have. And you're talking to someone who started in burlesque, so it never occurred to me.
Wait a second. Hold on. That's a wide opening door. Tell me, where'd you start, Jill? Because you're fun. You have a very interesting background.
I was the last production singer at the Latin Quarter in New York. So that's where I started, and we went on strike and closed the Latin Quarter down.
Wow.
From there, I started working as a singer for the Playboy circuit. And then from there, I went into rock bands. And then from there, wait a minute, I'm back. From the Latin Quarter, I went on Broadway. I did Broadway. Then from there, I went into rock bands.
As a singer.
Rock bands, singer, guitar player. But I had the stint on Broadway in between. And then from after that, I went to producing music. I'm a music producer. I produced for the daytime shows and for sports and places like that, and did so pretty much till the middle of the pandemic when it became apparent things were not going to return to the way they were. But at one time, I did 10 of the daytime shows and sports shows.
That's a busy schedule.
Music is what I love.
Daytime interview shows, daytime scripted, kind of reality.
Everything.
Everything.
A lot of the daytime soap operas, sports, commercials, radio, background music, plus dealing with when someone had to sing or whatever, songs being written or whatever like that. And it is, my community still kind of bodes from that, from my Motown. I started with Motown. So it bodes from that Motown period. This was a sidestep boxing that just lasted a very, very long time.
So you were doing this producing right until you said just pre-COVID? So
I was still
wearing
producing
multiple
music.
hats.
Yeah, I was doing the producing, but not full time. But I was still doing consulting and producing in music until COVID.
What kind of music?
Well, it depends. I mean, when I started, I was doing Motown, writing and producing for Motown. And I actually did an album with Motown, but I mostly wrote songs. I was what they called a song finisher. Stevie Wonder would write the hook, and then you would write the rest of the song. That's how Motown was. Motown was an interesting setup, but it was the greatest fun I ever had. Then after Motown, I went into bands, working with bands. And then eventually moved in producing music.
If there was a thread that connected Jill Diamond's life. What is that thread? Because these are very interesting, circuitous, but somehow I know it's all connected. Obviously, you've got a strong, great personality, and you're a presence in a room. But what was the internal thread that tied these things together?
Open heart and blank canvas.
Oh, blank canvas is a really big one, and an open heart. But what do you mean by saying that?
I mean that I was open to anything that made the juices go, and as long as the canvas was blank, whether it was a cooking show or a soap opera or a drama or a boxing match, and you would feel creative putting the elements together, it was satisfying. So you're looking to keep the juice, to connect, to engage. And it didn't, after my first love, which was music, and I kind of grew beyond that, I needed to feel that. I mean, I've also worked a lot in the medical field, doing campaigns for different medicines and whatever, with Katie Couric and whatever. But again, it's like, how do we take this and make it appealing to these people? It's all the same process. I mean, the things obviously, you wouldn't pick me as a partner in Pictionary. I have no sense of graphics, but I can see a blank canvas. I can see a problem. I can see a spin on something, and I can move it to something respectable and doable. And it doesn't matter what the platform is. And I do it until I can't justify doing it anymore, which is the period I am now with boxing. If boxing goes too much this way and my philanthropy goes too much this way, then I have to find a new blank canvas, if I can at this point in my life. It's not.
I'd bet on you, just saying.
But it's not about treading water. I mean, I think that keeps you vibrant in life is engagement, community, structure, and feeling. You got to keep feeling. You can't.
What are the things that make you feel that your creativity is drawn to? That blank canvas, does it? You said it can be in a lot of different areas. How would you try to define that? Dig a little deeper.
You know, anything that poses an intellectual or emotional challenge that I feel, stimulates me, even if it's writing a speech for someone, or something that I feel like, oh, it's never been said this way, or it's never been done this way. Or with the women's division, why aren't we doing this? I can see this. You know, anything like that, or just a person who needs help. Let's try it this way. You know, it's hard to say. It just when the pages are blank, who are you?
Where do you think that birthed within you? Was it nature, nurture, a combo of the two? How you grew up?
I think part of it was nurture, in the sense that I came from a very violent background, a very disturbed background. So imagination gets stimulated. You dissociate, you create your own realities. And somehow, and this is nature, there was still a lot of love there. I'm not crying, oh, poor me, but it was a very difficult situation. But somehow, nature then gives you the ability to still be cautiously optimistic. I live a cautiously optimistic life. So instead of sinking with the ship, I'm always like, but have you tried turning that little gadget? I mean, I'm not
You're very resourceful.
You learn that when you come from an abusive background. How can you be resourceful? And I think I used to say, I don't know how deep you want to get.
As deep as you want to go.
I used to be very, not bitter, but upset that I'd say there's so many things I could have done had I not had to deal with all of these problems. Someone said, or You could have married the dentist in Queens and gone on and had a very ordinary life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your obstacles are your benefits. And I started thinking of it like that and going like, yeah, my life has been interesting. I don't totally agree with that. Sometimes I think you're better despite, not because. I don't think everyone has to be hit side the head. But if you can progress past that point, it does give you a vision of the world that's different. I never have felt entitled.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have to go for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I go for it in a way that I feel doesn't harm anyone, because that's the other thing you learn when you come from a very abusive background. You can either say, I went through this, screw you, learn it for yourself, or I went through this and I don't want to see it happen to anyone else. And hopefully I've erred more on this side, so that part of what I do with the philanthropy and all that is very deep and very beneficial to me too, because I've learned to use my problems that I've had or grew up with to help other people. And they are, and people are grateful. Most people are grateful. I mean, you can't do it for that reason, but you'll find out years later that they are grateful. And it does give you a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling if you can help fix something. I don't care what anyone said. We all get gratification in different ways. I'm not looking, I mean, money is wonderful because I'd open my animal athlete shelter right now. But it's not just about the money. I mean, it really is about that warm, fuzzy feeling of
accomplishment
yeah,
and self-validation and the connections
absolutely.
you make.
And I hope the generation going forward could know that, because these are not good times to learn those things in.
That's another interesting point. When our kids, who were the ones who said, Mom, you got to start podcasting and they should be longer than 6 minutes long. They said, you should ask every guest, what would you tell someone my age? And ever since I started trying to add that segment, younger and younger people are watching this podcast.
Interesting.
And so they're looking for advice from you. People look at a Jill Diamond Chastain and they say, you know what? She's accomplished things. She came from a rough environment. She got through it. She's, got a network of people who like her, which is how I met you, through someone else. You have success on let's say the financial side, and then you went off and started this philanthropy, and all within boxing, something you like, building on a career in entertainment overall. So what do you say to someone?
I would say, one, the day you learn to take responsibility for your own actions is going to be the greatest
fist bump,
the greatest day in your life.
Yes.
Then I would say to them, if you want to criticize, that's fine, but don't criticize unless you have something constructive to add to it.
Okay, now I'm falling in love with you. Because, I mean, seriously, I think those are two of the most important things you can say to anyone. Really, you've got to, my hashtag is personal responsibility is the new punk rock.
Right.
Because it's something nobody wants to be responsible. Everyone was looking externally for what has got to come in here first. And it's a shame. We've got to bring that back.
I guess the last one, we don't look for praise, look for peace. Because you got to do it because you want to do it, and not have any expectations that either it's going to work or that someone's going to notice you're going to do it. Otherwise, you get bitter and crazy. But I just hope that they have a platform. I mean, we're sitting here, we're lucky, no one's dropping bombs, nobody's, we're in an environment where we can think about these things. We're not starving. There are people who don't have the luxury of thinking about this or what they want to be when they grow up, or whether they want to. I mean, I'm a vegetarian. I can't go to somebody in some country where they're starving and say, you have to be like me. I mean, we live in a world where we have to be as non-judgmental as possible, because the dialogue is what's important. What do you have in common? Start at that point. What do you have in common? I am been a vegetarian for all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my meetings are at steakhouses.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to look at people I love who do things that in my heart are reprehensible.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to think, well, what is it that we have in common? Why do I love them? How do we deal with this? And we talk about the things we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but we live in a real world.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make change by yelling at people. You have to find what do you have in common and take it from there.
It's a great lesson that you have to find something in common. And it's interesting using the vegetarian versus the carnivore as an example of finding connection as a basis.
I can give you an easier one. I have a very close friend in Texas
Mm-hmm.
who's very, very anti-abortion.
Mm-hmm.
I am for women's rights. I wouldn't even say pro-abortion. It's a gray area to me, but I'm definitely for women's rights. When we sit down to talk, I said, we can't talk about this. What are you going to do with all of the children that nobody wants? He said, that's what we can talk about. And that's what we talk about. Will the church take them? What do we do? How do we educate them? And we have this thing that we talk about all the time. What are we doing with these children? From there, we can start a dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dialogue to me is the essence of the survival of humanity. And it's interesting because we started talking about boxing, which is an intriguing sport, and the idea that somebody just wants to punch someone out when they get angry versus have that dialogue. What would you say to a young kid who says like, but I just want to hit him?
truthfully, I would have to know what the circumstances were.
Good answer.
I'm not saying that it's
That's a
wrong
good,
to always
honest
hit
answer.
someone.
A wise one. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
But normally I don't recommend it.
The charity you're involved with, what are you doing with that? What does that
Well,
look
we're
like?
in like 170 countries because that's where the WBC is. I have
170 countries.
We have 26 chapters. Everyone's a volunteer. No one gets paid. We have monthly campaigns, and we have a main campaign. This month, we're doing animals welfare. We use our champions to go into events or mentor people or do blood drives. We support a lot of other organizations using the tools we have. I call them my angel army of people. So it's all over, and it's not really to make money. It's to use the resources we have to reach out into the community and help people using officials and boxers.
So it's not just for boxing. You
No,
mentioned
no,
animals,
no.
for example.
Yeah,
How do you
animals,
tie that
gym.
in?
Well, we have pictures this week running this month with boxers with their animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with things like don't adopt. This is what my animal is to me. Don't tie your animal outside. You know, we're trying to combine it with things from animal rights organizations. We do a lot of things like that. We go into gyms. We go into youth centers. We talk about. We have a guy named Rocky Heron was a DEA agent who does lectures on drug awareness, domestic abuse awareness, anti-bullying. Everyone has different expertise, and we use those expertise. The animal thing is just really something that we felt compelled to do because there were so many. Actually, in New York, 3 carriage horses died, and we wanted to just say, okay, maybe you eat meat, you don't eat meat, you like horses. Do you want to be known as the city that kills horses? It's got to be a better way, folks. You know, how I feel about it is a lot different than someone else. For me, it's wrenching. For other people, it's just, no, that's not right.
Right.
But we all have the commonality is that nobody wants to sweep a dead horse off of the street. Let's think about this. How do we do it better? How do we be more humane? So that's what kicked off the animal campaign. And I have everyone there from Mike Tyson and his pigeons to Oscar Valdez and his crocodile. I mean, these are boxers. A lot of dogs and cats. Oh, and Caleb Walsh and his goats. So it's fun. That one's fun.
Total shift here. Alive or memorialized in our memories? Who's your favorite boxer?
Well, we always say Ali,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see any reason to disagree with that
Mm-hmm.
because he was so multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And memorialized now,
Mm-hmm.
geez, there's so many of them. I'm going to say something that nobody will agree with. I'm going to actually say Oscar de la Hoya
Mm-hmm.
because again, I think he's crazy as hell. I don't like a lot of stuff he does, but he was the real deal. He went through shit in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He gives a tremendous back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, with all this going on, he's pretty much of a truth teller.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot against Oscar, but I also seeing him being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I think authentic is the word. And my favorite person in boxing is still Mauricio Suleiman, who I think is the most transparent, the most tender-hearted person that I've ever met who really rules an organization. But he's not a boxer.
Right. That's okay.
He's the president of the boxing organization.
What would you say to a young person who thought boxing might be their pathway going forward?
Do you want to or do you have to?
Oh, interesting question.
Because if you don't
What does
have
that
to,
mean?
get the fuck out.
Yeah.
You're going to get hurt.
Hmm.
If you have to,
Ooh,
whether you're a priest or anything else, you're just a musician, you got to do it.
Do you want to or do you have to? That's such an interesting question to ask in a lot of areas of your life. Huh. Okay, so someone says, I want to.
I'd say become a referee,
Mm-hmm.
become a judge, work out in the gym, don't go pro.
Okay. Someone says, I have to.
Get the best trainer,
Mm-hmm.
give it a couple of years, go amateur, see how good you are, see if it's worth it to you, see if you can withstand it. And if it's still what you have to do, you're going to do it.
What are those ranks like? Like, can you talk about that and educate me and anyone
You mean the
listening?
weights?
Yeah, the weights and how somebody, how an amateur gets to get into those purses or onto those, the boxing ring that somebody might see on television or at a larger venue.
There's the amateurs, which is different, and that's a whole different school of boxing. And they come out of gyms, they come out of schools, and whatever. For professional, there's about 13 different. I think there are 13 different weight groups. They may have added one. Beneficially, you should fight in your own weight category. Nobody does. It's like saying I need a blonde actor and someone goes in and dyes their hair. But weight cutting is very dangerous. You should fight within your weight. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if that's what just killed Ricky Hatton, his up and down weights for the boxing. And then if you usually that's determined what weight category you're in by your coach and your team. And you can change weight categories too. I had a fight this weekend with Jordan White, who was the mandatory from a lower weight, who decided to fight at a upper weight, lost. But generally, they start in a lower weight. Sometimes they move to a slightly upper weight because the body just changes over time. But that's determined by the team. And then you start with the rankings and you hope to build up in the rankings.
Is it purely ranking or are there scouts that are saying, you know what?
No, it's rankings, but you could say your scouts are your managers and your coach. People go to gyms, they look at people, go like, that guy could do it. I'm going to talk to him. So the thing is that it's not a league. Gyms are open. So the boxers are more accessible in that sense. even with the writers, which is why writers write such bad shit, because anyone can walk into a gym and write. I've asked some of the top boxing writers, have you ever boxed? No.
Mm-hmm.
But they know they can get somebody's attention. So
Nothing quite like the critics that have never done it.
really, 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 it's like I always say, hold your hands up 3 minutes when I hear crowds
Yeah.
going, what the? Hold them up. Hold them up.
Yeah. Then he had a cup in it that weighs, 3 pounds or so, whatever it is. Yeah.
So that's determined through amateur and professional as to what weight category.
Mm-hmm.
And they can sometimes change weight categories.
What's a time frame if someone really was showing talent? What do you think a time frame is for somebody, like when they would start boxing to when they might actually? Is there anything that like any kind of timeline that could be identified, or is it just luck, timing, talent, connections?
You have Kalen Walsh, who fought the other night, who started boxing at 6. He did win his fight, and he's been boxing. He's 31 or something like that now.
Wow.
But then you had his opponent, who was Fernando Vargas Jr., who never fought really much in the amateurs, who started later. I mean, there are a lot of people. There's an age where you should retire, and there's an age where maybe you're too old to really start. But there have been some boxers, like Canelo started when he was 16, but also fought amateurs. But some of them do start in their 20s or so. It's not common because by the end of your 20s, your 30s, you should be winding down. But they're always the exception. The younger, the better.
Purely opinion here, if you want to share it. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. What'd you think of that?
I was there because I did the women's
You
fight.
were.
I was embarrassed for Mike. But I have to say something about Jake Paul because I'm supposed to do his fight next week and I'm not. Jake Paul has brought more young eyes to the business than anyone. He also is serious about his boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think by any means he's a great boxer, but it's all about business. But has it benefited boxing? Probably. Is it going to benefit the women? Probably, except that he's trying to move them to a 3-minute round. That's Nikisa, who's his business person. But I have the greatest respect for Jake. Not as a boxer, but as, no, I should say, how do I would distinguish? He's the greatest amateur boxer.
He's an athlete, for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely an athlete. He definitely works hard at it. He's definitely opened up the whole business of it. So yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that he brought that pay-for-play model to a whole new level for boxing. Yeah,
Absolutely. He's done a lot of good things for it. And that, again, he has a partner, Nikisa Berenson, who's a very, very bright businessman, and he's really the one that's pushing it. But together, they're a great team.
We covered a lot of stuff all over the place, and these always go way too fast. So I want to know, what didn't we cover, Jill?
I think we did a good job.
I think you did a great job.
We did a good job.
I think it's so fascinating how you're really an out of the box person.
No pun.
And out of the boxing ring, you push those ropes in all the directions. And I so admire that in personalities because we live in a society where, you said earlier on, well, I could have married the dentist and that could have been a fine route too. But you went this other route and you kept defining new roles, new boundaries, pushing those ropes, seeing where they would stretch, moving your compass in different directions.
You just got to see what's got to be done. And right now I'm focused a lot on animals.
Well, that's a good focus too. And I'm sure you're going to figure out a way to balance it and,
What?
Yeah. You're going to be very interesting to keep watching and see what the ongoing evolution.
Well, thank you.
of your career
Yeah.
will be.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I have been with Jill Diamond Chastain. We've been talking about boxing and animals and charity and giving back to a community and lots more. We talked about music, producing. Oh my gosh, this was a totally filled episode with all kinds of topics because Jill is frankly a very fascinating person. So there's going to be all kinds of links below this episode where you can learn more about her, get involved with what she's doing. You might want to follow what was it? The World Boxing Championship Cares?
No, WBC Boxing Cares.
WBC Boxing Cares. And that's going to be an organization that's certainly worth watching and possibly getting involved with on one level or another. We are in Manhattan Center. This is the Silver Disobedience Perception Dynamics podcast. Thank you very much, Jill Diamond Chastain.
My privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Hit subscribe, share this episode, and get in touch with Jill below.